Jin-Ho hurried down the gleaming hallway of the Concord Tower, his footsteps echoing against the polished stone floor. Red emergency lights pulsed along the walls. In his 15 years as senior diplomatic advisor to the Galactic Concord, he had never been summoned with such urgency. "Advisor Jin-Ho," called a voice behind him. It was Marek, the blue-skinned Altarian representative. "Do you know what's happening?" "No more than you," Jin-Ho replied, keeping his pace. "Only that it's Code 7. Marek's 4 eyes widened. Unexpected contact. How interesting. They entered the circular council chamber together. Representatives from 23 species sat in rising tiers around a central holographic display. The room buzzed with nervous energy. High Commander Vex stood at the center, her scaled skin reflecting the blue light of the hologram. She nodded at Jin-Ho. "Good. You're here. We need your expertise." The hologram showed a massive ship. It was unlike any design Jin-Ho had seen before, angular and dark, with visible weapon ports along its hull. Scorch marks and damage covered one side. "This vessel appeared in orbit 42 minutes ago," said Vex. "It bypassed all our defense systems." A murmur ran through the chamber. "Is it a new crawl design?" asked a representative. "No," said Vex, "and this is where it becomes problematic. The energy signature is human." Jin-Ho blinked in surprise. "That's impossible. Humans don't have ships like this. They barely reached their moon." "Exactly," said Vex. "Yet our scans are clear. The materials, the energy patterns, they match Earth origin." "Have they communicated?" Jin-Ho asked. "They responded to our hail just before you arrived." Vex tapped a control, and a recording played. The hologram shifted to show the bridge of the strange ship. A woman in a dark uniform sat in the command chair. Her face was tired but determined. Blood stained a bandage on her forehead. "This is Captain Hawan of the Earth Alliance dreadnought, Defiance," she said in perfect galactic standard. "We come in peace and request emergency assistance. Our systems are critical. And we have wounded." The council chamber erupted in shocked voices. "Silence," Vex called. The room quieted. "The message continues." Captain Hawan's image spoke again. "I understand our appearance may be alarming. We are not from the Earth, you know. We've traveled across dimensional boundaries, not by choice, but by necessity. We pose no threat to the Concord." The recording ended. All eyes turned to Jin-Ho. "How do they know about the Concord?" someone asked. "Humans aren't even aware of galactic society." Jin-Ho studied the image of the ship. If they're telling the truth about crossing dimensions, they might be from a reality where humans advanced much faster, or where time moved differently. "Or it's an elaborate deception," said another voice. "To what end?" Jin-Ho asked. "And how would anyone fake a human energy signature so perfectly?" He turned to Vex. "What's the status of their ship?" "Badly damaged. Life support is failing in several sections. Their weapons are powered down." Jin-Ho nodded. "Then we should meet them. I volunteer to lead the diplomatic team." Protests rose from several representatives. "It's the logical choice," Jin-Ho said firmly. "I studied Earth more than anyone here. If they're lying, I'll spot it." Vex considered for a moment, then nodded. "Approved. Take a security detail. First contact protocols apply." As the council continued to debate, Jin-Ho stared at the image of the battered warship, a human vessel, far from home, not just in space, but in reality itself. If true, everything they knew about the limits of technology would need to be reconsidered. And he couldn't help but wonder, what could drive humans to build such a formidable warship? What enemy had they been fighting? And had that enemy followed them here? Jin-Ho had a feeling the arrival of the Defiance was only the beginning of a much larger story. Jin-Ho stood in the docking bay with 5 security officers behind him. The airlock doors hissed open. Jin-Ho straightened his formal robes and took a deep breath. Captain Hawan stepped through first. She was shorter than Jin-Ho expected, but her presence filled the room. Her dark uniform bore strange patches and symbols. 3 more humans followed her: a tall man with worried eyes, a young woman with short hair, and an older man with a cybernetic arm. "Welcome to Neova," Jin-Ho said, bowing slightly. "I am Senior Diplomatic Advisor Jin-Ho of the Galactic Concord." "Thank you for allowing us to dock," Captain Ha-Won replied. "This is my first officer Da-Hyun, Communications Officer Ta-Young, and Chief Engineer Sung-Min." Jin-Ho noticed they all carried small devices on their belts. Not weapons, but not standard tools either. "Your ship has caused quite a stir," Jin-Ho said. "As you can imagine, we have many questions." "And we'll answer them," said Ha-Won. "But first, we have injured crew members who need medical attention." Jin-Ho nodded and spoke into his comm device. Medical teams rushed past them toward the Earth ship. "Now," Jin-Ho said, "perhaps you can explain how a human warship with technology far beyond Earth's capabilities appeared in our orbit." The humans exchanged looks. Ha-Won gestured to a nearby conference room. "This might be easier to show you." Inside, Engineer Sung-Min placed a small projector on the table. A 3-dimensional map of stars appeared, but not stars Jin-Ho recognized. "This is our Earth's galaxy," Ha-Won explained. "In our reality, humans developed faster than light travel nearly 300 years ago." Jin-Ho studied the map. "Another universe," he said quietly. "Not just another planet or time." "Exactly," said Tae-young. "We've been part of what we call the Earth Alliance for over 2 centuries. 47 species, 212 inhabited worlds." "Had been," corrected Da-hyun, his voice tight, "until the Void Collective came." The projection changed to show a dark, spreading mass consuming star systems. "The Collective is a hive mind," Ha-Won explained. "It absorbs entire planets, using their resources to grow. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't show mercy." Jin-Ho watched as the darkness spread across their star map, engulfing system after system. "We fought for 20 years, said Sung-Min, his cybernetic hand clenching. "Developed weapons and shields we never thought possible. But they kept coming. Earth was our last stronghold." Ha-Won continued. "When it became clear we would fall, we deployed the dimensional drive. An experimental technology, a desperate measure. You were trying to escape to another universe," Jin-Ho realized. "Yes," said Ha-Won. "The Defiance carry our best scientists, military leaders, and a database of all human knowledge. Our mission was to find a safe haven and rebuild." "The jump nearly tore our ship apart," added Sung-Min. "We lost 38 crew members. The drive is severely damaged." Jin-Ho's mind raced with implications. "Your Earth, it's gone." Pain flashed across their faces. Tae-young looked away. "Along with billions of lives," Ha-Won said quietly. "We're what's left." Jin-Ho felt a chill. These weren't just visitors from another place. They were refugees from an apocalypse. "I need to report this to the council," Jin-Ho said. "They'll want evidence, of course. We have ship logs, personal records, technological specifications," Da-hyun offered. "Though I understand your skepticism." Jin-Ho studied them carefully. Their pain seemed genuine. Their technology was real, but something troubled him. "If you could build a device to cross between universes," he asked, "what else might have followed you?" The humans exchanged another look, this one filled with unmistakable fear. "Nothing followed us," Captain Ha-Won said firmly. Too firmly. Jin-Ho knew a diplomatic lie when he heard one. Whatever had destroyed their world, these humans feared it might be here too. And that made them either the greatest allies the Concord could hope for, or harbingers of destruction. 3 days passed since the arrival of the Defiance. Jin-Ho walked through the massive warship, amazed by its design. Repair crews from the Concord worked alongside human engineers, fixing damaged systems. "Impressed?" asked a voice behind him. It was Tae-young, the communications officer. "Very," Jin-Ho admitted. Our best warships are half this size. Tae-Young smiled. The Defiance was built to fight. Everything else came second. They reached a large room that had been turned into a meeting area. Maps and diagrams covered the walls. Food from both cultures sat on tables. "What's this?" Jin-Ho asked. "Cultural exchange," said Tae-Young. "Captain's orders. If we're staying here, we need to understand each other." Jin-Ho picked up a small device. "And this? A personal translator, more advanced than what you use. It learns as it listens." Jin-Ho noticed how easily the humans shared their technology, not like the Vex Dominion, who guarded every secret. "Why are you so open with us?" he asked. "Aren't you worried about giving away advantages?" Tae-Young's expression turned serious. "Where we come from, keeping secrets got people killed. The Void doesn't care about patents or classified tech. Either everyone works together, or everyone dies." Several Concord scientists entered, along with more humans. Soon the room was filled with conversation. Jin-Ho watched as the two groups shared stories, compared technologies, and found common ground. "Your people adapt quickly," Jin-Ho said. "We had to," Tae-Young replied. "Those who couldn't change didn't survive." Later that day, Jin-Ho escorted Captain Ha-Won to the Concord Council chambers. The full council waited, all 23 species represented. "Captain Ha-Won of Earth," announced the council speaker. "We have reviewed your records and the evidence of your journey." The captain stood tall despite her injuries. "And your conclusion?" "Most of the council accepts your account," said the speaker. "But questions remain about your intentions and the threat you describe." A tall reptilian figure rose. Jin-Ho recognized Grell, the Vex Dominion's military representative. "Your ship carries weapons that could destroy entire cities," Grell said. "The Concord has rules about such technology. Rules that don't apply to us." Ha-Won replied calmly. "While you're in our space, they do," Grell insisted. "We propose that your weapon systems be placed under Concord control while repairs continue." Jin-Ho saw several council members nodding in agreement. "That's not possible," said Ha-Won. "Not just because we need those systems, but because they're integrated with our dimensional drive." This caught everyone's attention. "You mean to use the drive again?" Jin-Ho asked. Ha-Won nodded. "Chief Engineer Sung-min believes it can be repaired. Not enough for another universe jump, but perhaps enough to open a small window back to our reality." "To what purpose?" asked the speaker. "Information," said Ha-Won. "To learn if any other human ships escaped, maybe even to find a way to defeat the Void." Grell laughed. "Or to bring more of your warships here." The council erupted in debate. Jin-Ho guided Ha-Won from the center of the room as arguments grew heated. "That didn't go well," Jin-Ho said quietly. "Better than I expected," Ha-Won replied. "Half the council supports us. The rest are afraid." "I understand that." "The Vex will push for control of your ship," Jin-Ho warned. "They've been expanding their military influence for years." Ha-Won studied him. "Whose side are you on?" Advisor Jin-Ho. "I believe you're telling the truth," he said. "But I also believe you're not telling all of it." For a moment, Ha-Won's confident mask slipped. Jin-Ho saw the weight she carried. "Some truths are too dangerous," she said, "even for allies." As they left the council chambers, Jin-Ho noticed Tae-Young waiting in the hallway. The way she looked at him suggested she had been assigned to watch him. Or was it something else? Either way, Jin-Ho knew the cultural exchange was just beginning, and that much more than technology was at stake. Chief Engineer Sung-min stared at his screen. His cybernetic arm moved quickly over the controls, pulling up data from the Defiance's final jump. Something wasn't right. "Captain," he called over the comm. "You need to see this." Within minutes, Captain Ha-Won arrived at the engineering bay with Tae-Young and Jin-Ho. The diplomatic advisor had been showing them Concord star charts. "What did you find?" Ha-Won asked. Sung-min pointed to a series of readings. "I was checking the dimensional drive logs. Look at these energy spikes during our jump. The screen showed waves of data. Most lines were blue, but several red lines pulsed among them. Those aren't from our ship, Sungmin said. Something else was in the dimensional rift with us. Haewon's face went pale. Are you certain? The pattern matches void energy signatures. Small, but definitely there. Jinho looked between them. What does this mean? Before anyone could answer, Science Officer Hanjun rushed into the room. His usually calm face showed clear worry. Captain, we have a problem, he said. I've been monitoring Concord communications. 3 ships have disappeared near the outer rim in the past day. Ships disappear all the time, Jinho said. Pirates, engine failures. Not like this, Hanjun interrupted. He held up a datapad. Look at the last transmissions. The screen showed a distress call from a Concord cargo ship. Static filled most of the message, but one clear image showed a dark, web-like structure attaching to the ship's hull. That's void technology, Taeyong whispered. Haewon turned to Jinho. We need to speak to your council immediately. They won't believe this, Jinho warned. They barely accepted your story about another universe. They have to believe it, Sungmin said firmly, or everyone in this galaxy will die. 2 hours later, they stood before the Concord Council again. The chamber was tense as Hanjun presented the evidence. These energy patterns match what we faced in our universe, he explained. The Void sends small scout units first. They capture ships, learn technology, and prepare for the main invasion. Grull, the Vex representative, laughed. Convenient timing. Just as we debate what to do with your weapons, you discover a threat only you can fight. This isn't a trick, Haewon said through clenched teeth. 3 missing ships is hardly an invasion, another council member noted. That's how it started for us too, Taeyong said. Small incidents dismissed as accidents. By the time we recognized the pattern, it was too late. The council speaker raised a hand for silence. While we take your warning seriously, we need more evidence before committing resources. As the council debated, Jinho pulled Haewon aside. They won't act in time, she said quietly. Then we need a new plan, Jinho replied. What about your Earth? The Earth in this universe. Haewon's eyes widened. They're not prepared for this. But they should be warned, Jinho insisted. If the Void is here, every world is at risk. Captain Haewon looked at her crew, then back to Jinho. We need to get the Defiance operational enough for deep space travel. We have to reach Earth. The Council won't permit it, Jinho warned. Then we won't ask permission, Haewon replied. Will you help us? Jinho hesitated. Helping them would mean betraying the Concord. But if they were right about the Void, I'll help, he finally said. But we'll need supplies, clearance codes. A loud alarm interrupted them. On the main screen, emergency signals flashed from a distant Concord outpost. Unknown ships attacking Outpost Krell, announced the council speaker. The image on screen showed black, organic-looking vessels surrounding the outpost. They looked nothing like any known Concord design. Hanjun stepped forward. Those are Void ships, he said. The first wave is here. The council is still debating, Jinho said as he entered the Defiance's command center. They've been in session for 6 hours. Captain Haewon shook her head. We don't have time for debates. The attack on Outpost Krell had been contained, but barely. 3 Concord ships were destroyed before the Void vessels retreated. Still, many council members believed it was a new, unknown species, not the threat the humans described. Sungmin, what's our status? Haewon asked. The chief engineer looked up from his workstation. Main engines at 62%, shields at 48%. The weapons systems are operational, but we're low on ammunition. What about the dimensional drive? Still damage, but stable. I've isolated the core components. Haewon turned to Taeyong. Communications. I've modified our long-range transmitters to match this universe's Earth frequencies, she replied. But we're too far away for direct contact. Jin-Ho watched them work. These humans moved with practiced efficiency, even in crisis. Years of fighting had taught them to act without hesitation. I have something that might help, Jin-Ho said, pulling out a small data drive. Supply authorization codes and patrol schedules for the next 2 weeks. HFY took the drive. You're risking your position with the Concorde. If you're right about the void, positions won't matter soon, Jin-Ho replied. Han Jun entered the room, carrying several data pads. I've been analyzing the Concorde's deep space monitoring records, he said. There have been anomalies at the edge of their territory for months. The Vex Dominion investigated but classified the findings. The Vex knew. Jin-Ho was shocked. They suspected something, Han Jun confirmed, but kept it quiet to maintain their political position. Da-hyun, who had been quiet until now, stood up. We need to expose this to the full council. First, we need to secure the Defiance, HFY countered. The Vex have been pushing for control of our ship. Once they realize we know about their cover-up, they'll move against us. Jin-Ho's communicator chimed. He read the message and looked up with concern. Too late, he said. The Vex have convinced half the council that your ship poses a security risk. They're sending ships to place the Defiance under Concorde control. Some men cursed. How long do we have? An hour, maybe less. Captain HFY stood tall, looking at each crew member in turn. We have 2 options. We can surrender the Defiance and try to convince the council, or we can leave now, head for Earth, and warn them directly. The ship isn't fully repaired, some men warned. A long journey will be risky. And if we leave, the Concorde will see it as proof we can't be trusted, added Tae-young. Jin-Ho stepped forward. There's a third option. I can bring evidence of the Vex cover-up to the council while you prepare the ship. It might buy us time. It's dangerous, HFY said. So is doing nothing, Jin-Ho replied. An alarm sounded throughout the ship. On the main screen, 6 Vex ships appeared, moving toward the Defiance. They're not waiting for council approval, Da-hyun said. HFY made her decision. Some men get the engines to full power. Tae-young, send an emergency message to all Concorde representatives. Tell them what the Vex have been hiding. Han Jun, secure all our void research data. She turned to Jin-Ho. You should leave. What happens next might be considered rebellion. Jin-Ho stood his ground. I'm staying. The Concorde needs to know the truth about the Vex and about the void. Captain HFY nodded, respect in her eyes. Battle stations, she ordered. Throughout the Defiance, humans rushed to their posts. The ship hummed as systems powered up. The great warship, scared from another universe's war, prepared once more for battle. On the command screen, the Vex ships grew closer. The race against time had begun. The Defiance faced the 6 approaching Vex ships. On the bridge, Captain HFY stood calmly, giving orders. Shields at maximum. Weapons ready, but do not fire first. Jin-Ho watched in silence. He had seen Concorde military drills before, but nothing like the precise efficiency of these humans. Captain, Tae-young called from her station. Incoming message from the council. The main screen showed the council speaker. Captain HFY, power down your systems immediately. This action is not authorized by. The transmission was suddenly cut off. A new signal broke through. Emergency alert. Colony Sigma 9 under attack. Unknown hostile forces. We need immediate assistance. The screen showed chaos. Strange black ships surrounded a small planet. Dark tendrils extended from the ships toward the surface. That's a void harvesting formation, Han Jun said quietly. They're beginning to consume the colony. Captain HFY turned to the Vex commander on the second screen. You heard the distress call. Sigma 9 needs help. This could be a trick, the Vex commander replied. Our orders are to secure your vessel. HFY's eyes flashed with anger. There are 2 million colonists on that planet. While you debate, they die. The bridge fell silent. Jinho stepped forward. The Defiance is the only ship here with experience fighting the void, he said to the Vex commander. Let them help. After a long pause, the Vex commander nodded. We will escort you to Sigma 9, but any deviation from course will be considered hostile action. Minutes later, the Defiance and the Vex ships jumped to faster than light speed. Jinho had never been on a human ship during FTL travel. Despite the dire situation, he felt amazement at their technology. How did you know to monitor Colony Sigma 9? Jinho asked Hanjun. Pattern recognition, Hanjun explained. The void starts with isolated outposts, testing defenses. Sigma 9 was the logical next target. 3 hours later, they arrived at the colony. The situation was worse than the initial report. Over a dozen void ships surrounded the planet. Dark webs covered large sections of the surface. We're too late for those areas, Dahyun said grimly. But the main colony center is still fighting. Captain Howon turned to the Vex ships. We need a coordinated attack. Our experience. We will handle the space battle. The Vex commander interrupted. Defend the colony if you can. Howon shook her head but gave orders. Sungmin, divert power to forward shields. Dahyun, prepare the landing teams. Hanjun, map the void spread pattern. Jinho stepped forward. I'm coming with you. This isn't your fight, Howon said. It is now, Jinho replied. As the Defiance broke through the void blockade, Jinho joined the humans in the shuttle bay. They wore battle armor unlike anything in the Concord arsenal. Each suit seemed to move with its wearer, enhancing rather than encumbering. Ever fought the void before? Asked the soldier, handing Jinho a weapon. No, but I learned quickly, Jinho replied. The soldier nodded. Stay behind us. Shoot only what we shoot. If something black moves, kill it. If something touches you, call out immediately. The shuttles launched toward the colony surface. Through the viewport, Jinho saw Vex ships engaging the void vessels. The Vex weapons seemed ineffective, barely damaging the organic-looking ships. They're using the wrong frequencies, Hanjun observed. Their weapons can't penetrate void hulls. As the shuttles approached the surface, Jinho saw the true horror of the void. Buildings half consumed by black material, people running in terror, and dark, spider-like creatures hunting through the streets. This is what happened to our Earth, Taeyang said quietly. This is just the beginning. The shuttles landed in the colony center. Captain Howon stood before her troops. Save everyone you can, she ordered. Show these people how humans fight. The doors opened, and they charged into the nightmare. The Defiance returned to Neova 3 days later. The ship bore new battle scars. Its crew was exhausted but proud. They had saved over 12,000 colonists from Sigma 9. The shuttle bay opened, and Captain Howon stepped out, supporting an injured crew member. Behind her came Jinho, his clothes torn and dirty, but his eyes bright with newfound respect. To their surprise, the full Concord Council waited to greet them. The council speaker stepped forward. Captain Howon of Earth, she said formally. The Concord acknowledges your service to Colony Sigma 9. Without your intervention, all would have been lost. Howon nodded tiredly. And the Vex ships? 4 destroyed, the speaker replied. Their weapons were ineffective against the enemy. We tried to warn them, Dahyun said quietly. The speaker continued. The council has reviewed the evidence. We now accept that the threat you call the Void Collective is real. We request your full cooperation in preparing our defenses. Captain Howon looked at her crew. They had fought this enemy for years. Now they would teach others to fight it too. We will share everything we know, she said. 2 weeks passed quickly. The Defiance became the center of Concord military planning. Every day, officers from different species came to learn from the humans. Jinho found Taeyang in the ship's command center, explaining communication protocols to a group of Concord officers. The Void uses our own signals against us, she told them. You must change frequencies constantly and use these encryption patterns. Jin-Ho waited until the officers left. You're a good teacher, he said. Tai-Young smiled. I'm just passing on what we learned the hard way. In another section of the ship, Sung-Min worked with Concord engineers. His cybernetic arm moved quickly, adjusting a weapon component. The resonance frequency is key, he explained. Normal weapons bounce off their outer shell. You have to match this exact pattern to penetrate. In the main briefing room, Han Jun showed Concord scientists the biological structure of void creatures. They're connected to a central mind, he said. Kill enough of them, and the larger entity retreats temporarily, but it always comes back stronger. Captain Ha-Won and Jin-Ho watched these exchanges from a distance. Your crew has changed the Concord, Jin-Ho said. 2 weeks ago, the council couldn't agree on anything. Now they work together with a single purpose. Fear is a powerful unifier, Ha-Won replied. Not just fear, Jin-Ho countered. Hope. You showed it's possible to fight the Void and win. Ha-Won looked at him. One battle isn't winning the war, but it's a start. Later that day, the Concord communication network received an unusual signal. It came from Earth, the Earth of this universe. They detected the Void ships at Sigma 9, Han Jun explained. Their telescopes saw the battle. They're asking if they're alone in the universe. Captain Ha-Won stared at the message. They're not ready for this. They weren't ready in your universe either, Jin-Ho reminded her, but they survived and built ships like the Defiance. Until they didn't, she said quietly. Jin-Ho placed a hand on her shoulder. This time could be different. This Earth has you, has all of you, to guide them. The dimensional drive lab suddenly activated. Alarms sounded throughout the ship. What's happening? Jin-Ho asked as they rushed to the lab. Sung-Min looked up from his instruments, his face pale. The drive is responding to something. There's a dimensional fluctuation forming. On his screen, energy readings spiked wildly. The air in the lab shimmered. Something's coming through, Han Jun said. Captain Ha-Won drew her weapon. Prepare for anything. The shimmer grew brighter, forming a small tear in the air. Through it came not a void creature, but a voice, human and desperate. Defiance, if you survive. Others followed. Gamma protocol initiated. Find the message cut off. The tear closed. Everyone stood in silence, processing what they had heard. There are other survivors, Tai-Young whispered. And they sent a warning, added Ha-Won. We need to find what Gamma Protocol means. Jin-Ho looked at the humans around him. Their faces showed both hope and dread. Something was coming. Something worse than what they had seen so far. The unlikely alliance between worlds would soon face its greatest test. 1 month after the Battle of Sigma 9, alarms sounded throughout the Concord network. Void ships appeared at multiple locations, no longer testing but invading. On the Defiance's bridge, Captain Ha-Won studied the tactical display. Red dots marked void activity across Concord space. It's happening faster than in our universe, she said. They're learning from their mistakes. After days of research, Han Jun had discovered what Gamma Protocol meant. In their universe, it was the last defense plan, using dimensional technology as a weapon. Jin-Ho entered the bridge, now wearing a formal Concord uniform with a new insignia. Allied Forces Commander, the Council has approved your plan, he told Ha-Won. All available ships are moving to these coordinates. The plan was dangerous but necessary. Some men had modified the Defiance's dimensional drive to create a massive tear between universes, one that would pull the void forces back to where they came from, then seal the breach forever. What about your people? Jin-Ho asked. If this works, you'll never be able to return home. There may be nothing to return to, Ha-Won replied. And this is our home now. 2 days later, a combined fleet gathered at the coordinates. The Defiance led ships from every Concord species, including the Vex, who had finally recognized the true threat. Sensors detected a massive void swarm approaching, the main invasion force. All ships, battle formation. Jin Ho ordered from the Concorde command vessel. On the Defiance, Captain Ha-1 addressed her crew one last time. Today we fight not just for our lost Earth, but for this Earth and all worlds in this universe. The Defiance carries the legacy of our humanity. Let's make it count. Sung Min reported from engineering. The dimensional drive is ready, Captain. But there's a problem. Someone needs to remain on board to manually direct the energy flow. The automation systems aren't stable. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. I'll stay, Ha-1 said finally. No, said Da-Hyun. The crew needs you to lead them after this is over. We draw straws, Ha-1 decided. Everyone has an equal chance. But when the time came, Jin Ho found that Captain Ha-1 had rigged the selection. She would pilot the Defiance. You knew all along, Jin Ho accused her as the evacuation began. Ha-1 smiled sadly. A captain's duty is to her ship and to her mission. The people of this universe will never know your sacrifice, Jin Ho said. Then tell them, she replied. Tell them about Earth, about humanity, about what we can become when faced with impossible odds. The void swarm appeared, hundreds of black ships moving as one organism. The battle began immediately. Concorde ships followed the humans' tactics, targeting weak points in the void formation. From the command ship, Jin Ho watched as the Defiance pushed through enemy lines, taking heavy damage but never stopping. All crews, clear the target zone. Ha-1's voice came over the comm. Dimensional drive activating in 60 seconds. Jin Ho opened a private channel. There's still time to evacuate, Captain. You know better than that, Ha-1 replied. Take care of my crew, Jin Ho, and don't let Earth face this alone. The Defiance reached the center of the void swarm. Its shields failed. Dark tendrils began attaching to its hull. Dimensional drive at full power, Ha-1 reported calmly. It's been an honor serving with you all. A blinding light erupted from the Defiance. Space itself seemed to tear open. A massive vortex formed, pulling the void ships into its center. The Defiance, at the heart of the storm, glowed with energy. Then, in a final flash, everything collapsed inward. Where hundreds of ships had been, now there was nothing. The breach was sealed. 6 months later, a Concorde delegation arrived at Earth. Jin Ho led the group, with Tai-Young, Sung Min, and Han Jun beside him. As they approached the blue planet, Tai-Young looked out the viewport. It looks just like home, she said softly. It is home, Jin Ho replied. And now Earth will never face the void alone. The ship descended toward a new beginning, carrying humanity's legacy from another universe.